Okay, I'm sure you noticed that there was someone didn't understand the difference between serving in a styrofoam cup or in a glass cup and all that, and some kind of a give and take ensued. And as a result of that, the principle of Oyir became more clear what we mean by Oyir. More Oyir, less Oyir. Oyir has been expressed in this discussion. Oyir means how much of your personal attention is expressed. As we spoke many times, Oyir is the impact of the personal presence. If somebody is hungry and you give him food, you're concerned, your expression is only concerned about his hunger, not about your relationship with him. Take it even more to a greater extreme. You throw food to the dog. There is no personal involvement. The dog has to be eaten. You throw a morsel of food without any fanfare, without any finesse. Oyir represents the personal involvement. And this is why we said that if you serve in a lesser keli, there is less Oyir. If you serve in a more respectable keli, there is more Oyir. It means it shows that there is more personal attention given to this action. This is what the Rebbe is saying, that since the Oyris, as they come through Atzilus, as sphirot, have in them an inherent focus. Now there should be Oyir B'Keli. We explained what is compelling about this, what tells you that it means B'Keli. Essentially because it came after Aliyah Zorotz. There's already some kind of an intent. Therefore, it is meant to go all the way to become an expression, an Oyir B'Keli. And then, since it Oyir B'Keli, since that there are different levels of keli, therefore the Oyir is also measured according to this keli, and thus that this brings an element of levels on the Oyir itself. Even though the Oyir itself is really always an emanation and an impact from the etzem, from the source. So how can Oyir be affected by anything? So the Oyir by itself cannot be affected. But since this is an Oyir that is aimed to be nislavish in a keli, that already has an effect on the Oyir itself, that the Oyir that's nislavish in a keli is different depending on the keli. This is how you get malo mato in the Oyir. As you explained many times, this is a phenomenal concept. How can Oyir be malma? Oyir is a reflection of the reality itself, of the etzem. So when Oyir is on its own, it cannot be different. But if the Oyir is aimed to be established in a keli, then the Oyir fits with the keli. This is the thing, that the Oyir is is oir panimi. Panimi means that it relates to the keli. Thank you. And it's intended to be this way. Oir panimi. In our mashal, which is a very, so to speak, coarse mashal, nonetheless, if you think about it, every mashal can be extended and expressed and elaborated on in full sense. We said the mashal, you're serving in different cup. You're serving in a styrofoam cup. You're serving in a fine glass cup, plastic cup, or you're serving in a glass cup or in a crystal cup. The water is exactly the same. But the oir, the personal attention that is expressed in this service is very, very different. If you serve it in a coarse cup or in a fine cup. And this is the, so to speak, bringing this to the conclusion. Slapshus oil is b'kelim, he said that the oil is slapshus pnimi in the kelim. The oil is slapshus pnimi in the kelim. In other words, you're serving your guest water in a cup. This relationship between you and the guest that you're serving him, we're saying that there is a slapshus pnimi, there's a pnimi element in this interrelationship. Yes, indeed, you give him water. Water means that he should not be thirsty. There's no personal involvement. Nonetheless, this element in general has a pnimi. You are paying attention what kind of cup you're going to use and how you're going to serve it. That even in such a simple operation, there is a pnimi, there is a personal connection to what? To the final product, to the final action. This means the slapshus pnimi. And again, the reason the oil is bislapshus pnimi, which means that the oil relates to the keli in a full relationship, not just an external. By the way, you can't serve water but in a cup, so you'll be one kind of cup or another. No, it's bislapshus pnimi. You pay attention to what a cup of it is. This means bislapshus pnimi. So if you're serving l'havdil to a dog, you're not paying attention how you serve to the dog. You have an obligation that it shouldn't be thirsty, that's it. If you're serving l'havdil to a human being, you are paying attention how you're going to serve. And then there's a difference between one and another. So in its inception, there is a pneumistic connection in the oil, and this is why it comes out in Milo Mat. Okay, so the Rebbe explains now, we are on third line from the bottom, on this front page, Ayin Gimel. At the end of the line. In the Iyar, in the sphirot, because that there is ultimately his slapshus Iyar became. Therefore, there was going to be the element of Milo or Mato, of higher and lower. And this is true, as we explained, because the Iyar has to be slavish in the key. V'harei, behold, Kli ha-chochma, the keli of chochma, he b'bchinas dakus yoser, harbe mikli habima. The keli of chochma is b'bchinas dakus, is in a much finer quality, much finer quality than kli habina. So there's no need to elaborate it because the Rebbe goes on and explain it. For example, when it comes to haskalah means conceptualization. There's a difference between conceptualization and understanding. Understanding is when you have a full grasp, elaboration. Conceptualization, please understand what it means. Conceptualization means it comes from nowhere. There is no background for it. The concept surfaces from a certain reality. Concept that which has in conceptualization of inyan. Harei. So then, at that point, ein hasichli bo b'pchinas albosha adayin. The sichli is not b'pchinas albosha. It does not have garments as yet. Albosha means has not been contained and grasped so that he can carry it over. It's just a pure concept. As we can actually observe b'chush in a personal sense, that the haskalah, the conceptualization, does not come through at the moment of conceptualization with an extensive explanation. Nor does it come binyonim rabim in multiple versions. Kiyim, rather only b'chinas nekuda mufshetes. It comes through a nekuda mufshetes, a neutral nekuda, a principle. Adayin mufshetes adayin hasoga, that is yet free of hasoga, of comprehension. We are not going to. We have to speak of a specific illustration, and a very simple illustration, which we already started Bemis. Somebody conceptualized, typically I think it was Ford, that he's going to make a car for human transportation. Where did he get the idea? It didn't come from a non-existent source, because prior to that, people were transported with horse and buggy, and it was a limited capacity and so forth. And he conceptually, he thought, it would be a good idea, because a horse and buggy, you have to know how to treat the horses. It's a whole involvement. If I had a car, all you need is just a little gasoline. You can have a car in your own private personal garage and drive it whenever you want. Neat. And the car doesn't get tired, and so forth. So this initial concept where is the basis? Where is the root of it? The root of it, let's think about it. The root of it is not any convenience, not anything. The root of it is the principle that a human being, if you are here and you see that place a mile away, you have a desire, you should be able to get to the place that you see. The entire environment that you can observe is within your domain. And you should be able to get whatever interests you. This is the initial concept behind this whole invention. In this concept and this initial, there is no explanation. Why do you need to be able to get there? It is the mere recognition that a person is in the entire environment that he can observe.
This is all a marshal for the way Chokhmah is undefined.
That's right. So there is no. How are you going to accomplish it? How is it going to work? None of it. The principle, though, that 2 points within a person's observable area should be able to be connected. Why? Because a person wants to connect it. This is part of the human psyche, so to speak. This is a very coarse illustration, but it is a concept. There is no. This concept did not come as a result of facility. In other words, I can do it. Let me do it. There was no idea how it can be done.
It seems like it's almost not in a keli. Not that it's in a fine keli. It seems.
No. The keli is bechinas dakus yisur. The keli is in a finer keli.
Right, I hear, but again, it does seem as if this is conceptual. At the point of conception, it seems like outside of being in a keli.
Yeah, and so now let's see if that's true.
Okay.
This is a keli.
Mm-hmm.
If you speak about 2 points on the ground, that's a keli. The higher than that is that a person has no restrictions.
Yeah, it seems to start there, right?
If you speak that he can go from 2 points on the ground, that's a keli for what? For the human superiority that he cannot be restricted. This is where it is completely devoid of keli. We spoke one time, which was multiple times last week, where a person is in prison. Yet, what's so terrible about the prison? In jail. Not talking about prison, a torture prison, a regular, so to speak, a modern day prison. He's locked up for 2 months or 2 years, whatever it is. And we say that this is a very, very deep suffering. What is it such a deep suffering?
Because he can't go from A to B.
You can't get A to B. Okay. First of all, he can go to A to B because, as I said, in modern day, the prisoners can play tennis. So if you are a tennis player, you're not going to be lacking anything. What is and the suffering of prison is very deep, very deep. So deep that if you give a person an option, leave today or leave tomorrow, he says, no, let me get out as soon as I can.
No empowerment.
Huh?
No empowerment. No self-empowerment.
No empowerment, that also needs clarity. The principle behind this, I'd like you to understand, the principle is this. Freedom to a human being, I'm talking about an intelligent human being, and I want to elaborate on this a little bit. What happens when the person gets out of jail? He said, because he can't move from here. When he gets out of jail, what is the first thing he does? Does he go running around the block?
That's fine.
Because till now I couldn't get around, now I can lie. Is that what he does? The person is in jail, what does he do the first moment that he is freed from it? Let's project.
Look at the sky.
Look at the sky. I would imagine he would go out and find some kind of a bench any place and sit down and just open his eyes and look around. That seems to be more in line with what a person would do. How is that expressed? The counter experience of being in jail. While he was in jail, he had a limited relationship to the reality of the world. The world wasn't his. The world had walls around it. He was able to walk around and do anything he wants. But he didn't have the world itself. He was an artificial environment. That irks him very deeply. Because who does a human being really belong to, relate to? He relates to his Creator. What's the reality of my being here? Not what can I do and so forth. What does it mean I'm here? That's a human being. I'm here. The reality I'm being is that there is a Creator. I'm not here. I didn't come from a monkey. I had the Creator. There's reality. And the whole world is mine.
What's the connection, of course, of the Creator? That's why the whole reality is His.
Creator means yesh v'ayin. Means there is not a limited definition to my being here. I'm here because I must be here. Because the
everywhere.
Creator wants me to be here.
And everywhere.
And here means in the entire reality. I'm not here just to satisfy a certain function, but I have a reality to be. This is the pshat. I created a person.
It's always said that Marshall, like a cat would goes on a tight rope. This is the place where he goes. A human being, when he walks, he's walking.
That's right. Why? Why? Because he relates to the entire reality. This is I'm saying in the jail experience is something which clearly brings it to the fore.
It's like being like a balchai, that he walks on this tightrope, and he doesn't have the reality. He walks just on this spot where he is in a jail.
I'm saying. So what do you say?
In a jail is like he feels like an animal.
That's right. In a jail, that's right. He's like an animal. Even though he can play tennis, he doesn't make any difference. Makes any difference.
Yeah.
He has a surrounding wall.
Yeah.
That does not allow him to look on the entire reality.
And then,
you know, it's an interesting thing. In a jail, there are different levels of jail. The most strict and the most suffering moment is if you're in a cubicle and you can't even look outside.
I saw a description of one of the very high security prisons in Colorado. One of the things they made sure is that whenever the prison, sometimes they had to move from building to building, whatever it is, but they should never see the sky. That's like a thing that I saw. They never should see the sky.
Solitary confinement, they call it. That's what they mean.
They will do anything. If you're in a cubicle, he sees a window 10 feet away or 15 feet away, you climb out the wall just to look through the window.
Why? Because to feel more.
A little bit we have to live to our own cycle.
To connect to the source.
so again, we got into this because the nimsho of Keli duck.
Oh, so this is like
corresponding to Chochmah, yeah?
Chochmah, there's a Keli, but the Keli is very dark, very fine.
Fine. The whole prison description here was to clarify what point, was to bring out what point regarding this.
That in the initial awareness of a person is beyond the restrictions of the prison, beyond the experience. Not because he cannot go from one place to the other. That is a minor thing.
It's very expansive.
The minor
and yet it's in a Keli. I mean, it seems like this is a very wide awareness, very expansive. The whole world is his, and beyond the world, he's within reality.
That is a Keli.
What is a Keli?
This, what you said, that the whole world, that I can relate to the whole world, that's a Keli.
Why? Because I mentioned world, yes?
Because the sense, the way it is in essence, doesn't have that elaboration even.
So there is an essence before Chochmah, obviously, but by the time it's Keli, there's a there.
By the time it's Chochmah, that's why by the time it's Chochmah, there's already some kind of a descriptive element.
Okay.
V'horaya, if I have a chance to look out, I can relate to it. That which is above Chochmah, looking at it is not going to do anything. He's connected to the entire reality regardless.
Yeah. And that's probably where the expression "four walls do not a prison make" comes from.
That's right. Oh yeah, I didn't know. No, that's a very correct expression.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chochmah does not come with Mahaba Yosis, way Binyan Rabin, and it's not presented in many different forms. Kiyim bebchinas mekudam of shatzat adayim mehasogal. The kudam from shatzat adayim mehasogal means you cannot even explain what it is that you understand. What is it about? I understand historically, I mentioned about Ford, about the car, that historically, when the cars first came out, people mocked it. What is this going to do? How can they compare? How can they compete with the horse and buggy? What kind of joke is this? Okay, a few more words. V'hagam shehankuda koileres hakoil. Although this is a challenging point, very important. Although that this nakuda koileres hakoil really incorporates everything. Sheharei, since that kol haprotim haboyim hahakam hasogo, all the details that surface afterwards in hasog, in comprehension, hakoil bo me'ankudo, it all comes from the nakuda. Okay, and here's in the Yiddish translation, which we already know, es wird als herausgebracht, herausgetragen me'ankuda haskol. Everything that wrote out in the Bina, in Hasoga, is all drawn from this Nakuda. Harei, thus we see that Hanukuda koilel, let's call haprotim. That Nakuda includes all the protim. Mekomokim, yet still, the Hanukuda, within the Nakuda, einam nikorim haprotim klal. The protim are not recognizable in the Nakuda. Rak Nakudas hoinyan levad. So what you see in the Nakuda is Nakudas hoinyan. The principle of this inyan, but you don't see what that really entails. This is important. We should understand. I don't know the time.
Time 8:43.
Yeah, okay, just very quickly. Hasoga, comprehension, elaboration, can be misunderstood. And that is just like the theory of evolution. The whole thing is incremental addition. The reason you think of this is because you came across this. You had that experience. And therefore you say, okay, we add this, we'll add this, we'll add this. And this is where there was this terrible misunderstanding of the human soul and human intellect. It is true that it's revealed incrementally, but it's contained in essence at the core. If you understand, you reveal it, you identify it incrementally. Like we say all the time, a home, everything that will ever be developed in a home is part of the initial concept of the home. Although it was developed over years. Where is the proof to this? This is what I'm always saying. What is the proof that it was initially included in the original concept? The proof is that when comes to its further development, to the lowest level, you do not feel that you're out of your element. It's a natural relationship. Like I said, even to sit at the table, the table is some kind of an external invention, a structure, stands by itself. It's not part of me, and yet you do not at all feel interfered with when you say you sit at the table. On the contrary, it's complementing you. How can it be complementing it to something external?
And this is proof that it was contained inside the Nakuda, yeah?
That's right.
Question, why would it be so hard for a child to stay by table or to take so much work to learn handwriting or any of these things if it's so innate in a sense, right? It would seemingly be the greatest pleasure, but it takes a huge amount of work often.
No, okay. I said it's developed incrementally. First of all, the important point is this. Yes, he personally can relate to it, but but a person does not act but through his intellect. In other words, it's not enough that I can relate to, but I have to understand what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. And that takes time.
That takes development, yes.
Comes a point though where
if you tell a child make a line, has no problem. Make a line. Make a circle, and could relate a line and a circle like an olive. That is already. It has to have a little broader seichel.
Okay, and the fact that it takes time and work doesn't mean it's not innate.
That's right.
It just shows it shows what? That
this Nakuda has not been translated in Seichel.
Yeah, okay, so why would Nakuda impacting Seichel be sometimes difficult or taking time, or there'd be resistance to that? Surely it would be fairly straightforward.
Seichel is a view from an outside.
Uh-huh.
And that takes time to understand it.
To do the birur, to get the feel. Uh-huh.
You know how to drive a car?
Uh-huh.
Right? Would you trust somebody to take your car and drive who never drove a car? You just show him how to
Certainly not.
Why not?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, back to our Nimshal, we are saying that driving is all these later activities are inside the Nakuda, sitting at a chair at a table.
That's right. And the more of a chacham a person is, the more quickly he can adapt. But nevertheless, there's an adaptation. Everybody, no matter how gifted a person is, benefits from experience. An experienced driver is always safer than even if somebody is very gifted. Still, experience helps. Experience helps to predict with eventuality.
Right, and that's bringing in like a different point. Namely, we just had that everything's included in the Nakuda, and that's seemingly the only source. Here, bringing in this element of experience is external impact.
No. You said the source is in the Nakuda, but then the Nakuda has to come out, be gili.
Yeah.
That comes in Seichel.
We're mixing and we're putting into that experience. Experience again seems like circumstantial stuff. That's like.
It is translating the Nakuda in the gili.
Uh-huh.
How that translates in this circumstance, in this circumstance.
Got it.
But it's the same Nakuda. Okay, just a quick point. It is extremely important to understand, to see how Bina is drawn from Chochmah. Because if you take Bina independently of the Chochmah, it loses chayes, it loses its neshama quality. And this is where the whole theory of evolution is actually materialized from. It's incremental, so that's exactly how it happened. This is how a human being transferred from a monkey into a human being, because he had been exposed to this. Idiotic. The proof is, show it to a monkey for 100 years, will he become a human being? All right. Okay, so here is we up to Gabe Chochem Gom. We are up to the word Gabe Chochem Gom. A great Chochem. Okay.
I heard a story last week that the Rebbe used to come to Hadar Torah.
What?
The Rebbe used to come to Hadar Torah
Right.
for the Pesach Seder every year. And I guess one year, I guess the story was printed, but he saw that the Bachrim were eating from like disposable kalim. He says that they should have real kalim at least.
Real Kalim, huh? Really, I never heard this.
I just said, yeah, and I think the person told me he seemed to say that he was referring to all the time, not just Pesach.
I'm not saying this in jest.
Refer
A perfect example
Refer to all the time, not
Divina
just Pesach.
is when I said empowerment, that's the Bina. I forgot the Chachma. Why is it?